Employees, okay, excellent.
So some employees will be relocated in other companies, and there were a number of companies who step up to do that, and so it's still ongoing. It's very interesting. I think the two other things that we did on our end is we have a program called the Entrepreneurial Work Term Program, and where students can spend a semester full time working on the idea, and we kind of reopen application, and what we saw is kind of an explosion of application because a lot of co-op placements have been cancelled. So students are trying to find new opportunities. So it's actually a good time for entrepreneurship. And the last thing I think I'd like to mention is we started to offer remote childcare during our workshop for students. And there are two reasons for that. Like in general, accessing entrepreneurship training has always been an issue for parents, especially for female students. And it's even more a problem in a time of confinement, where you have a reduced support system. And the second thing is that we want to send a clear message to female students and students who are parents that they are welcome at the MCU.
Thank you so much, Florian. Is Martin back? Do we have him yet? No. We'll come back to okay, it's not sure.
Oh, we have hope. We have hope.
Yeah, hope. Oh, so Bria, I know that Accelerator Canadian have a very strong national. Since the beginning of this crisis, how this network is is it still useful to have this strong network? And if so, how did you activate it?
Yeah, I think it's very strong to have a network like this. So Accelerator Okanagan, we host an event called the Canadian Accelerator Summit. We would be going into our fourth year of the event taking place this fall. Obviously, we're redesigning, thinking what this could look like, and I think Mangrove taking a leadership approach and hosting something like this is a great opportunity for organizations like ourselves to connect on best practices. As soon as this happened, we're a part of the Canadian Digital Media Network as well, so CDMN, and they started hosting
edition, well, Montreal about next gen supercluster manufacturing and manufacturing 3.4.0, Mangrove, obviously, the digital technology supercluster from BC, our friends at FinTech Talent who are also going to facilitate the FinTech one, our friends at Queer Tech, awesome organization, as well as, of course, Soundtech, Van Hack, District 3, Castille Innovation, the post-COVID China that I just talked about, World Discovery Asia, Montreal Indigo, Le Wagon, Anna Avatar X Prize, Guidebolt, that I don't know, so I have to check who is there, these people, EXO, and RDFI, of course. So please, 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 go check it out. Go in the breakout rooms. I see that Patricia is talking here. So please go there. Please, please.
Hey, Christophe.
Hey, salut, comment vas-tu? How are you? I'm sorry. I don't know how many people there's online.
So, how are you, Christophe?
I'm fine, and you?
Good. So, where are you right now?
In Montreal, anyway, in my personal office.
Great. Personal office, which is your home, or
Yes,
are you working?
my home. Yes, everybody, as you, I guess, we all split it a while ago now. I know you've been in touch with Camille on your regular meetings online. So yes. So by the way, she really appreciate the connection. She feels definitely
Great.
less lonely in that world. And
Yes,
yeah,
that
definitely
was
doing a
the
great
point.
job.
So I'm great that Camille is appreciating it. I appreciate it too. Like every Monday, I know I'm gonna see a few faces I know, and
Yeah.
we'll exchange some good tips about
Yes,
our
exactly.
cohort and what we're doing here. So yeah, thanks. I love your background, by the way. I don't know
Thank
what it
you.
is, but yeah, looks great.
I reformed our logo, La Piscine, with post-its.
Yes,
So it's definitely branded. Every time I speak to
I love
someone,
it.
it's branded, and I redrew all the faces of all the person in our team. So here, this is Camille. I don't know if you can
Oh,
see it,
wow.
and
Okay, so you're a great
and
artist.
you go all the way, and I'm obviously here watching everyone.
Wow,
That's
I
it.
love it. You should do the same for us for MTLab.
But you can definitely do it. Take post-its, any color, and put it on the wall, and that's it.
Yeah, I should. My wall is quite blank right now, so
Yeah,
that's why
this is.
I added a poster, but
In fact,
I should definitely do something.
that was part of our contest of the second week of confinement, because I was just seeing white walls behind everyone, so I
Yes.
was tired of it. So I asked to be more creative and just to have fun. This is what I did on my side.
That's great. Is there anyone else here in the session that would like to talk about like their creative initiatives during this confinement? I don't know how to change the camera for other people so we can see who's there. Oh, there you go. Benoit's there.
Yeah, I told my son it was okay to jump into the conversation. Hi, Christophe. Nice to meet you. I'm
Hi.
Benoit from
Salut,
MTLab.
Benoit.
Salut.
Yeah, ça va bien.
Yes. I also have a white background, so I'll be trying to have some new decoration.
Come on, guys, come on.
No, but what he hasn't said is that Benoit, like his girlfriend, just took over his desk, so he's just moved to his kitchen right now, so he had to redecorate it this week.
I just got kicked out, but I see that as a new opportunity to shine, so let's do this.
Anyway, It's really interesting just to see, because normally we visit sometimes different rooms in the apartment or houses of people. So most of the time we have the living room or a small space. But like last week we had the bathroom. So for the first time I visited the bathroom with someone, because that was just the room left in the whole house, because everybody was just like around and the children were like screaming, so it was just like crazy. So he went back to the bathroom, and then we finally had a conversation. Really interesting.
Well, Christophe, what I understood is that all heroes don't always wear cape, so I think it's the same for you.
Yep. By the way, we heard from Indestructible, the family of superheroes, in the first episode, that you don't have to wear cape, because this is the main factor of death in the superheroes, because cape can go in the two bows, it can be split in two, or just anything can happen. So forget the cape.
That's good to know. I'll remove my cape afterwards.
By the way, Superman can always fly even without a cape. So
True. It just looked nicer. It just looked more badass,
Yeah, I know, but anyway.
Yeah. So I can see we're 3 in the group. I have a little picture here with like 8 people who've seen the group. I don't know if they're here, if they can hear us, if they want to join.
Yeah, if I understand well, there's people just being in the conversation as viewers, and I was like the only one saying like, okay, I'm gonna jump in. So I invite all people that are with us to just jump in the conversation. So
it seems like there's other people. Yes, we can hear you great. So we'd like to hear you as well.
That's it.
Excellent.
Hello. Yes, one more.
Do you see me?
How are you, Aline? Yes, we do.
I'm from Le Wagon Montreal Coding Bootcamp, and I'm the community lead. So maybe we can chat and share what we have been doing.
Nice.
Of course, Aline. It's weird because we all do speak French, so it's the first context where we have to speak in English all together. But just in case other people are listening to us, so Aline, I know you're really you're really dynamic on the social medias. You do a lot of events and webinars. So do you want to share a little bit about this?
Yeah, maybe I think we're gonna talk more about the culture and how to maintain culture, right? In education, since we work with education, it's for us it's super important to maintain this atmosphere, of a very social aspect. Even if we are remote, we had to adapt really fast since the COVID crisis. And for the students, we do a lot of activities, and for the startup community as well. So for the students, we do a bunch of events and interactions with local players in the local community during the bootcamp, and also meetings, happy hours every week for them to keep this bond. But also for the startup community, for us, it's super important to keep this link and learn from the entrepreneurs. So we try to do every week one event with somebody from the community, one entrepreneur. Even if we are far, we have this contact with people, and we learn, we share. So that's what we have been doing for a while, trying to keep the energy and the motivation alive while we are remote.
Great. And what did you learn from that? Like, what would be your main thing you'd say like, oh my God, it's a good thing that we started this because something happened. So what would be that thing?
Yeah, I maybe what we learned, like me personally, to be extra proactive with the people, because now that we need to like book official coffee breaks and official moments to hang out, like we were trying to do this today. It's not that natural as when we are in person and we just have a coffee together. So I like one thing that I learned is to like even be more there for the people, so send more messages and try to organize more social events that are official for them to hang out and chat, because it's not that natural when you're remote and you try to focus a lot on all the activities you want to do for the week and you forget about this side. And when you forget about this side, it's kind of you lose a bit of the interaction. So yeah, I think I learned to be more proactive than ever.
Great. Well, that's very interesting. And I was wondering, because I've heard a lot from our candidates. We're planning to have our fourth cohort coming up in June. And I'm writing a lot to them to give them some updates about what's happening, and they're telling me, oh, it's so great that you write to us, that you connect with us, because we don't have much information from the ecosystem and from other incubators or accelerators. Most of them aren't part of any of these, and some of them are alumni, but they're not like in connection anymore with these incubators, accelerators. So like what, like, I don't know, do you know any initiatives in the ecosystem right now that could put all together these people, except webinars, because webinars are really interesting and we get to learn and listen to panelists and everything, but I don't know, like more social activities that could connect these people together that aren't part right now of an incubator program?
Yeah, it's a super good question, because I see that Montreal New Tech, they were organizing some coffee moments every week, like in the morning. Like this event is super interesting because you have like networking on the side, but I feel we need more of that in the community. We also spoke with the founder of Startup Fest 2 weeks ago, Philippe Telio, and he was telling that he plans to do something like that for Startup Fest. That might be super interesting as well, like an event for startups where we would chat and a little bit more than webinars, where we could have more connections. And
great.
Yeah, and in our case, like there is one opportunity. I don't know if it makes sense to them, but we're doing some coffee breaks with our graduates, the ones looking for jobs in June. So if ever they are looking for talents, I mean, they will be super welcome to join us. It's a free event. I'm sure there are others, but I think us from the community, we need to plan more events.
Yes, of course. Well, I know it's weird because they are all overwhelmed by all the information that's available online about events and about updates on COVID crisis and everything. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about like how to better communicate these events and how to make it more like accessible to everyone and clearer. I don't know. I know Bonjour Startup Montréal is doing a great job right now with the Startup Radar and trying to concentrate all the information on one platform. But I think the key is really to collaborate and talk more often. And as you said, just, I don't know, like on which channel, but I know there's a Slack, I know there's other channels. I don't know, what's your thoughts about that? Like which channels are you using, or which platforms are you using that you find is more convenient for you?
On our side, I could say that companies are overwhelmed, as you said, by there's so many things around them, and the problem we've been using, certainly as all of you, like different media like Slack, like Drive, like email, like whatever. But at the end, we know they're going to respond just when that matters to them or when they have a question to ask. So in fact, what we're trying to do is we call on one-on-one conversation, because also it's great to see all of us at the same time, but at the same time it's like, huge gathering. You don't have time to speak to anyone, and at the end you're just like, oh my god, I had not enough time and I couldn't speak to so and so. So we decided just to do one-on-ones, just for 10 to 15 minutes, just to say hi, how are you, and what's in your mind right now, do you have any question. Obviously, we could be here for you, or maybe you have question that we're not the right person just to answer. So maybe you should just join so and so in the ecosystem. And I know it's weird also when you send a message to someone you don't really know, or you just met, or you heard about it, but you say, you know what, if you want to talk to someone, we definitely here if you want. So might be another thing just to try it all together, just to share the work, the load of these guys, because as you said, not a lot of them are linked to our own ecosystems or accelerators or connectors. So how could you reach them out? And so that is not easy.
Yeah.
And when they call you, I mean, it's definitely always emergency at the last minute, and they have to make a move or do something, or ask for money at just the last minute, when they could have called you like a few weeks ago. So
Yeah,
it's
a good point. Like it's we usually don't connect with people except if we have a purpose. And
yes.
now, like, people, like, I don't know, I guess we feel a bit more free to reach out and just like ask people we didn't know about any questions or help or anything. So I know well, we have Andrew Lockhead from State 22, the founder of State 22, who's part of our alumni, and he said, like, he just took the opportunity to connect with people he didn't talk to like a long time ago, or even like his competitors. He called all of his competitors or people who are doing quite the same thing as he did in other sectors, and see how they could collaborate now and do like a joint ventures or something like that. So it's interesting because it opens up new opportunities with, like, I don't know, some people you never would have connected before. So I don't know what you think about that. Is there anyone who wants to add? I just learned in the chat that you could just click on the blue button, share audio and video, if you want to join the conversation. So please feel free to join. So yeah, the question was, have you ever, I don't know, like since the beginning of COVID, like, have you ever tried to connect with people you wouldn't have connected before, or are there new opportunities that you've seen that open doors for you within the ecosystem?
It's a good question. I'm thinking.
Or what? Who would that be? Christophe,
But obviously, this is kind of our mission, as you are doing an MTLab connecting people. So obviously, you have to call them anyway out of the blue. And also on our side, Accelerator, we are doing exactly the same thing. So we are always on the edge of calling people, but it's definitely, people are more open to answer, even though they are quite busy or it's not the right time, and so they try to take some time just to call you back, or just to let you know that they received the message and they really appreciate, but not now, or they think of you. So yes, it's really a really interesting time about like collaboration. at least if people can remember that it's useful just to connect and just to work together, that would be a great message just to remember at the end of all of that.
Yeah,
True.
And in our case, since we are an international community, we were used to do like lunch and learns and activities for the people in Montreal that were always in Montreal. And when we had to do the switch to remote, we thought about all the alumni that are in the States, that their life changed in those 3 years. They are in France, they are somewhere else. And we started to do more events with people living in other cities. And it was so interesting. And it's something that we can do even when we go back to in person to have these connections with people that are not necessarily living in Montreal, but they have so much to contribute and share, and we can learn from those other cities as well.
Yeah, it's so
this
true.
maybe opened our minds to do more collaboration with other countries.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to plan a similar event, like with a lot of people around the world to connect. When I was working with Tassom before, and everybody was saying like, oh, like international cafes, like we don't see that often, and we like, why not doing just like an event in person and everything. But now, like it just like accelerated all these opportunities, and it opened up. It just helped open up to these opportunities, and I think it's great because, I get to practice my English more often now, which is good because we're mostly speaking French at MTLab. I don't know about you, but it will help. But yeah, it's great to connect with people all over the world and see how they're doing. And I've been learning a lot from them. I've been reading a lot of articles from incubators and accelerators in France, and I've learned a lot from them. So it's very interesting. And maybe because we were supposed to talk about culture and education, media and entertainment, but I don't know. I guess we just talk about like, because we are all in the same kind of sectors, so we understand each other. Oh, Valentin,
Hi there.
he's joining us.
Yeah.
How are you?
Pretty good. Tired for strange reasons somehow.
I guess
it's almost
so.
like I've been busy for like 32 minutes.
For we don't know what exactly.
Just people live on stream. What could possibly go wrong, people? Anyway, sorry I've cut you, Florence. You were talking about those international cafes.
Yes, great. Thank you for joining us. And well, talking about culture, maybe Christophe, you could tell us a bit more about what's happening in that sector at La Piscine, because now, well, everybody's like, yeah, I know everybody's pointing a finger at us, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, like tourism and culture, you're the ones that are most impacted, and it's really hard and everything. So we're trying to face it in a very positive way and try to find new creative ways to just bring it from here to here to surprise people in our sector. But like, how are you managing it at La Piscine, and how your startups and partners are seeing it?
So first, what we did was obviously just to redirect all our efforts just to try to help those companies. Obviously, yeah, it has been a tsunami, literally, on tourism and culture. So festivals, theaters, whatever, spectacles, whatever. So everybody has to really move forward now, not really knowing exactly what was going to happen as the days are going. So it's clearer and clearer that things are not going to go back to normal. There's definitely a new position on that, but it's not that desperate. I would say, obviously, in our sectors like tourism or culture, we all knew that we had to change anyway. It's just that with the COVID, it has been accelerated. So, in fact, in 1 month, that happened. In fact, in ancient real time over like maybe 1 to 2 years. So instead of 1 to 2 years, that happened in 1 month. Okay, good. And we all know that we had to change and find new models. So that we had to incorporate maybe more technology, but also just to work more on the storytelling and the way we were like really presenting experiences, for instance. So all those keywords that were just like, in the speech of everyone. Oh yeah, we have to give the experience and the proximity and the humanity. Yeah, but now it's definitely, now you have to deliver. And it's really interesting just to see that some of the companies had no problem just to, surf and thrive over the COVID, because they were definitely ready and they were obviously delivering the right experience or the right technology. They were really ready to do it, or just to, as you said earlier, just to pivot a little bit and then just to find new ways just to deliver whatever they were as a proposition, their value, the famous value proposition. For all the others that were still in between, not knowing exactly, but maybe pushing something more that they were willing to push rather than just listening to someone on the other side. So obviously, yeah, there's struggles, but I guess it's struggles for the best. I hope it's struggle for the best for themselves and also struggle for the best for their customers, because obviously now they will certainly listen to what people have to say, even though it's still evolving all the time. So it's definitely more and more listening to people and seeing exactly. And as you said, not only these are all like agile entrepreneurs, though they should be able just to rebound and find something. So on our side, it's definitely having new programs. So we're going to launch in a few days now, new programs definitely specifically made for COVID, just to really coach several entrepreneurs on that.
Well, I think we should talk then.
Yes, by the way, it's in our planning of the week, so it's good.
Well, Martin told me about it, so yeah, we should definitely talk a little bit more often, as we said.
It's coming.
And I like you when you said like that people like listening to people, because when startups are facing like investors, usually they think about the solution and the human. And now the solution don't matter as much as the person who can think about a pivot or a new solution to help people during this crisis. So I don't know, like I guess that it's gonna focus a little bit more now on the human and how he can evolve and change and adapt to the situation more than the solution itself. Because yes, there is a value to the solution itself, because like they built it and they put a lot of energy and effort to it, like they built it over time. But I think now we're really seeing who are the entrepreneurs who can really push it forward, and then see who are the ones that go through this crisis by being more creative and adaptive and flexible. So that's, I think, a good thing. Valentin, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I really like what you said, because it's about motivation and what's your locus of control, right? If you're in for the solution, and that's why so many VCs, they're not that interested about signing your fancy NDA and all, because the idea is really not worth much if by simply speaking about it, anybody can copy it. And your value as an entrepreneur is about you and your team, right? And what I'm thinking about is, so I come from I come from communication and project management, and what I always hear people, because I'm really passionate about like education and stuff like that, is, well, yeah, those things are nice, but I don't have time to put my team on training. Well, guess what? Everybody has time right now, specifically the most impacted one, because with the government paying like 75% of your salary and like $10,000 of training, what the hell is your excuse if you don't get some of the best training right now for the next month? You have none of it. So if you're not running after that as an organization, it's because you really don't care about the people, you care about the product, or at some point you let that product kind of, all your focus was there and you forgot about the people. Everybody, especially the most impacted organization, can spend like 2 months right now of providing amazing training for their staff, and that could arise to pivoting to something else, or once it's back to similar environment, having way better trained people, you know. And for me, it's like that's like a crazy opportunity for the most impacted businesses, because some of them, it's actually right now they have too much work. It's not like they don't have enough work. It's the opposite. But I know some people, they're just waiting. It's very depressing. So ultimately, it's what is your locus of control? Do you care about the product, or do you care about the person in your skills and everything?
Yeah, true. And like we're talking a lot right now about the training into coaching, because like the well, a lot of the measures are around financing coaching, but like I still can put myself in their shoes and see, like, it's very important to get this training and everything, but if you don't have a purpose to it, and if you don't have like if you don't know how to adapt your solution to a new client or a new value proposition, you don't know what kind of training you need. So like for now, I think what's missing on my part, I don't know, you can react to that, is these clients. So these clients, well, at MTLab, I'm talking about my experience, but we work with like 11 big partners in our sector to find a new fit to market, new needs, and renewed needs according to what's happening with the crisis. And we are trying to connect like these startups who have solution, who can adapt really quickly and can pivot really quickly with these new renewed needs from these bigger companies. So I don't know. I think something's missing right now. Like I'm really into like coaching and training, but I think there's something missing if the startups don't have clients at the end of the day. So I don't know what you think about that. Like, I know Lapicine, you work a lot like in connecting and also big companies with startups. What you think about that? Like, I know some of the bigger companies are also a little frozen right now because they can't
lost even.
Yes.
So I guess it's smoothly this. What we've seen is really big company, they don't know themselves. So, and it's generally protecting themselves first. And as you know, innovation is always at the end of the road. So it's operations first, then it's humans, and then it's maybe innovation. And innovation in terms of whatever product, processes, or so what. So, and for now, it's definitely frozen. Everything is frozen, so they have to think about them first. It's correct. And if you go back and retried, we have conversations time to time now with those people, and it's always like, yeah, but come back in a few months and we'll know more about what's going on for our future. So how could you describe or define even the market when those people that are supposed to buy something or supply something, they don't even know exactly what's going on? But what we always say is, yeah, but about you fine, but what about your own customers? The final even customers. And what we've seen is definitely interesting in terms of usage of the technology. For instance, we had for the past 2 months now people that had never used technology, that had to use technology and was forced into technology. And those guys are kind of new markets now. So what are we going to do? There were no markets or users because they were not interested, but now they have to go through. So not just the final product or the product, it's all about like all the services now around those new people that are new in town and that would need definitely to be served. So we have to think also about that, and startups, they can definitely, I guess, do a better job at knowing or grasping what would be those new markets rather than the big corporation. And then if they can do it, then take one segment and then see what they can do for this, and then with that segment go back to the big corporation and say, hey, you know what, you didn't know, but those could be your future clients and we can be part of the solution.
Yeah.
So by bringing not just a solution but also maybe a customer segment, that would definitely be interesting. This is why, all those new platforms, so marketplaces or curation platform, they are so good and strong right now because they don't come with a solution. They also come with potentials behind them.
Yeah. Well, because it's always a chicken or the egg, do we open these new market or new solutions in hoping that there will be a fit in the future when people will be able to pay, or do we try to understand what are the renewed needs and find solutions to it? But in either way, there's no money right now to invest in these solution, except if I don't know what you think about that, but if there would be measures taken for financing R&D projects, just so like these solutions could start to be built, and then see afterwards if there's a fit. Well, then afterwards the bigger businesses could pay for it. But at least I think they need some help to initiate these solutions and not work for free. Because otherwise most of them will just say like, I'm just gonna wait right now and see. I won't invest more time and energy to it before I know or before other people do it.
Obviously, yes, culture for free is definitely a mistake. And for now I can understand people artists and all those creative people and cultural people, and bless them, they want to be here, they want to help, but it's again, it's forgetting that there's work behind it, and that costs money, and any effort that has to be paid for. So that one is definitely interesting. But the other thing is, we've seen now that, and I guess everybody knows that they will need money just to rebuild something. So SEDEC, for instance, this is why they launched a new program of innovation that was really interesting, and we are really about to work around that with some of our startups right now, because they definitely need it. There's some other tools already existing that have been switched, or we can switch as well. Culture, you never know where to put them, so it's always not easy just to put an X in a box. But this is what we're trying to do, obviously, at La Piscine as well as only you, just to remind everybody that culture is also economy, and it means money. So yes, please add some boxes sometimes just to check it, because it's good.
I might have an example.
I agree.
Right now, so just before the live, I was doing a workshop from La Puce Informatique, and they basically help nonprofits doing the digital transition. And with the funding, with the situation right now, they were like running and looking for people who can train. And essentially, there's two things that happened. First, the government provided funding for getting trained, and also, they work remote, and the reality changed, and a lot of projects are in the back. One thing I want to highlight really quickly, because I'm really eager to hear what Aline and Martin have to say on this, is that some startups start with innovation, and they're trying to build the processes. And those goddamn processes, they take time and research and stuff like that. So even if like half of what they build as processes don't end up panning out, they can still, in theory, spend time developing it. It's just like when you work on a risky event. Right now, for example, we worked on Montreal New Tech. We knew some things wouldn't work, so we created little contingency plans. We didn't use all the contingency plans, but they were there in case things fuck up. So you create a bit more processes, and you hope that most of them work, right? And then the other thing you can do is the other way around, which is not like you start from innovation and you're like, oh, I have a bit of time to brush up on how I want to do it. Is the other way around, saying like, I'm usually spend all my time focusing on the solution, the process itself. And now I have a bunch of my staff having half of the work that they used to have. and I don't want them to start looking for work. A lot of people will change work soon. You know, they get bored, they'll start looking for new challenges. Okay, so you're like, maybe I can give them cool projects in R&D, and some R&D costs because you physically have to, you know, do a thing. But some R&D, specifically in the service industry or in the digital age, the initial cost is not that significant. You know, it's people's time and people's focus. And so I have a bit of hope here that, regarding of you coming from innovation to operation or the other way around, if you can, like, if you have suddenly half of your resources, and by resources I mean people, that you can spend on it without it you costing too much, because of course there's a temptation to say no, we do not spend anything. But if it's funded and you can justify it, I have some hope here. What do you think, Eileen?
Yeah.
It makes me think, if I can just
Yeah.
jump in, and afterwards, Alice, you can take the lead. It makes me think of a conversation I had with the Ulism team. I don't know if you know them.
Ulism? No.
Ulism, they're working a lot with Tourism Montreal and other ones.
Hello.
Hey, Brigitte, how are you? So, and they were saying, you know, like we just switch from like working for external clients to being our own client. So they considered themselves like a client, and then they were working on their processes and see how they could manage a project around, I don't know, future ideas or events that they had that they want to achieve. So I thought it was very interesting, their way of thinking, of just like considering themselves as a client and then work for it.
Yeah, and it's very coherent.
In that direction.
Before the COVID, I kind of lost a contract because the company I was doing growth hacking, the company stopped all the money pouring out. They stopped, and that's like absolutely normal. Well, now imagine your company of 10 people. You do have more junior people in that team, you know? So maybe you can train them that you don't need to hire a marketing company. You can just train that person to reach that level. You can now afford it. Yeah.
And exactly, the way I see it, the big corporations, they have a huge risk of losing a lot of talents because of what you said. You know, if it's not challenging enough, and I see a lot of the students that come to our bootcamp with like great background in business, in finance, and etc. But they want to be the owners of their own time, the owners of their own destiny, and they want to launch products and at the same time do some freelancing and etc. So especially for open innovation, if you don't see that the talents, they want those challenges, and if you don't provide those types of opportunities, maybe you lose to other opportunities that the people will create for themselves. And it's increasing a lot the number of people who want to become freelancers and want to become entrepreneurs. So I think it's a huge thing that big organizations need to think about, how to engage those people, attract them to their own innovation projects. And if they can give more freedom, more training, for sure they will keep interesting people in their own projects, for sure.
Brigitte, you just joined us. Thank you. Were you in another session before that?
Well, I was listening to all of you, and then I just wanted to jump because, I'm at the Musée de la Civilisation in Quebec City, and like all the guides, who are usually with visitors, right now what we are doing is that they are part of the development of the more into the projects and to bringing in new solutions. So, well, for the people I'm working with, this is very high value, very high valuable. Is that correct? Yeah. It brings a lot of value. So, and for sure, like their engagement has increased. And so for now, I would say that at first the weeks, the switch of the work was a little bit tricky and harder. And now I can see that people are more and more engaged, and everybody's working together to find new solutions. And so I like to see that. And for sure, it will change the way people will develop projects into the museum. And last year we did a call of projects for prototypes with the employees. So at the beginning, it was just for fun, just to explore technologies. And we had 9 prototypes, and suddenly with the crisis, we are deploying them because we saw a lot of value into these solutions that we can apply right now. So we are so happy that we've done that work. We've put like an extra load on our shoulders, but it really pays now because people are more open-minded to new solutions, and they are so proud of their prototypes. So when we say, hey, you had that idea, and it will be concrete in few weeks, few days, and so we see all those smiles and the pride that it brings in. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, it's really great what you did at Musée de la Civilisation, because if you didn't know, like the musée is one of our partners at MTLab, so we work with them quite often. And I don't know, since about 2 years now, something like that.
Well, I'm there for just 1 year, so.
Yeah, true. But with Anna Laura, I know, well, we've been talking for now, like, I don't know, 2 years or more than that. And we can see the difference between some of the partners and other ones, like how they manage to bring innovation within their business, their organization. And what's very interesting about you is that, like, you really understood quite quickly that you had to ask the people within the organization to being involved. Like each time we went with the cohort at the musée, you brought everyone from different partners just to meet them and then talk with them and see if something comes up from it. And then afterwards, it's easier for them to just bring up new initiatives and projects and everything. So it's great that within the organization, everyone's concerned about about innovation and see how they could build a new project and everything. So you really did succeed to bring everyone together toward the same goal. So that's really impressive.
Well, thank you. But for sure, like, because of our partnership with the MTLab, for us, it allows us to know so many new startups, and working with them, they have their own vision, new perspectives, like they're more agile. So when they come into the museum, it's like having electroshock. What can I say? And so it gives us more like knowledge, but ways of doing things, ways of thinking. And so for us, we gain a lot from that energy and those new processes. So for us, that's really nourishing inside the museum.
And I know, like, all the museums in Quebec don't have like the same way of doing things and the leadership that you have. Could you tell us a bit more about your role for this sector in Quebec and how you are planning in the next month to show your leadership and then, I don't know, renew the experience online for the museum and how the other museum could adapt as well? So how do you picture it?
Well, we went in so many the orientations, too many access, but we put on a platform to share digital content with other museums. So like virtual tours, meetings, rendezvous, daily rendezvous, activities for children, for teachers. And so this is one. So we put on that website within a week. And then we wanted to, as a museum, we wanted to document the pandemic from the audience, to get the stories of the people. And what we'll do after that with all that content, we don't know yet, but we felt from the visitors that they wanted to talk, they wanted to share, they were looking for a place to share these stories. So this is Documenter la pandémie. And so we started to put on a call for ideas from with our employees, but also with different organizations or companies. So we are co-developing now one project with a company based in Quebec and one organization in Montreal. And we plan to for another call of 3 new projects this year. But we don't know yet. I'm working in the digital lab called the MTLab Créaforme. There's a lot of little pieces of digital, so we just don't know how we can reopen the space. But still, on the innovation, we want to infuse all the directions, all the different departments, yes, of the museum. So it's not just putting innovation into the lab, but throughout the museum. So, and I think that with all the employees that have developed their own prototypes, they really now see the value. So it's not just the space, but it's more a way of thinking.
Great. That's so interesting because nobody could think like a few months ago that we could visit a museum online. Like every time we think about it, we have to be there in person to observe and look at the objects and piece of arts and everything. In your case, not piece of arts, but a piece of history. Mm-hmm. Martin Montero has a question for you. He's asking if you are using augmented reality for this.
Oh, for now, yes. Well, not augmented reality yet, but virtual reality. But yes, augmented reality one day, crossing my fingers. So it was one of the projects to do like remote tours. We decided to recreate all the spaces so people can walk in all our exhibit. I would say three months ago, for all the board, that would be too expensive, that would be too difficult. And with the COVID crisis, finally people say, let's do it. So we decided to digitalize all our spaces. So it really accelerated things. And then we got our technician teams trained to integrate new contents into these digital spaces. So because most of the time those digital spaces are kind of photos, but we wanted people to really hear the music, see multimedias, really read the panels and the text and the content. So we got the team trained. We were talking about training the teams. It's time to do it.
Been talking for real.
Yeah. So we did that. So it was important to train all the technicians just to be sure that we could better explore these possibilities.
Yeah, thank you, Brigitte. It's awesome. Really, like you're one of our best models. Yes. So, Martin, you want to introduce yourself and then maybe add something to what you were, related to your question about AR to Brigitte?
Hey guys, sorry, I've had a little trouble with the tech here. I can't.
We hear you fine.
We can hear you well.
So I am coming from Vancouver, and right now, if you look at my profile, it says something about Hudson, New York.
No, come on.
No.
Just a tease. He's like, if you look at come on, I have a fantastic opportunity.
Yes.
So until he reconnects, I have a question because
like in a movie. Yeah, go ahead.
Literally in one of my class, I'm finishing a master in management. We were studying the cases of all the museums that are moving towards event-based. So there's a fundamental weird issue with museums, which is the purpose of a museum is to preserve art knowledge and whatsoever. But when you use another format which is getting more and more traction, which is event, fundamentally it sometimes contradicts the purpose of conserving, right? Because if you want to keep something protected against light and have the best understanding of the situation, then you have to make it accessible to the masses so they can see it, so it gets damaged. You have to simplify the knowledge behind that, which is it's not a bad thing, but it's a compromise you have to take. And more what you see is more and more museums, when they switch toward more and more events, suddenly you don't care about getting the best collection. You always care about that, but you care in the logic of this is for 3 months. Whatever I do, my preservation lasts 3 months. And right now, what's interesting is in the context of COVID, the logic of events is a bit suspended because you can have both. You can say we're going to do a virtual reality project that will run not just 3 months, that will run always. So we'll get that conservation piece and people can dig in and get all the facts and all the proper knowledge, but we can also make something clean and use the marketing tools and stuff like that and make a hype, but we don't have to stop there. And I find that deeply fascinating because I don't see a case where without the COVID, people would be forced to do that because the train of doing events is so strong. What's your take on that, Brigitte?
I must admit, I've been working for a science center for almost 20 years, and we didn't have a collection. So my route is not being based on the collection, but more being a hub where people meet and are playing with content or acquire content and engage with content. So this is more the way I've been drilled. This is what I'm looking for. So at the Musée de la Civilisation, it's a museum. It's a society museum. So for me, this museum its value is about raising questions. It's about questioning our society. So it's more engaging visitors with how do they connect with the history? How do they connect with the reality of today, contemporary issues? So in this way, for me, like those meetings, connection, events, no matter how we call them, are the essence of the museums now, more than the collection. Of course, the collection, that's important. We are the guardians of the collection. But I think that the digital allows people to play and better understand the collection, and they don't need the museum to be open. Like the online collection allows the people to explore, see more, understand more answers, more stories, and why not remixing things and putting things, objects in perspectives, and maybe we can talk to someone working in the collection or a guide. And I think we are just, I see so many options now that are just all the way. There's a lot of possibilities. So people used to see museums like houses with objects are kept. But for me, it's a lot more than that. It's
Yeah, it's very interesting. And we still have this idea in mind when we say museum, we just think of this room where we look at a specific object and we don't talk to anyone else, and then we just focus on that and you get inspired. But it's true that it's more and more engaging, and we have all kinds of museums here in Quebec about science, about I don't know, about the St. Lawrence River or arts or anything. So yeah, the museum, I think it's a good example of the evolution of the cultural sector, and then we can see how you're working with things and mixing different kinds of ways of engaging people around these objects or ideas. So that's very interesting. Martin, you're back.
Yeah.
We just lost at the moment where you were going to say something very interesting. So I don't know if you want to jump back and say what you wanted to tell us.
Yeah, guys, sorry. I was saying Right now I'm helping an incubator in Hudson, New York, but I normally in Vancouver. And I think, Bridget, what you're talking about seems very, before the crisis hit, we were actually talking about creating a cultural incubator. We were going on the theory or the practice that food, music, and stories are the pillars of human civilization. That's how we built everything, is around food, music, and stories. And we're talking about museums and about how we get people out of that mindset of, I'm going to go to the library and just look at something and be quiet and not talk to anyone and just, like when I was a kid, my mom would yell at me if I touched the wall. And it's like, no, don't touch anything, don't talk, don't do anything.
Yeah.
So,
But
And so what happened with that? Like,
So-
Christophe, you wanted to add something as well?
we put it a little bit on the side, but now we're bringing it back. There's actually a guy in Toronto that I met. He developed an app that you take your phone and you point it at a painting or a piece of work, and it gives you a whole different perspective. Like it overlays certain things, like some of the classical works. He made one guy that was, I think it was Michelangelo, painting of a guy. It was just, and now that guy is like a barista and has all this. It gave it a whole different, like, brought it into the century. Took that painting from the 16th century and brought it into this one. That was one way of doing it, a cultural commentary. The other one, an app that I'm working with in LA, allows anyone to take a picture, post it on their app, and then all their friends can come in and comment. They can look at it in their room and come in and comment on that. I think there's a lot
Wait,
of,
do people actually comment on the wall, like the
Yeah.
actual virtual physical wall?
yeah, like the painting would be literally hanging in the middle of your bedroom. You would have Michelangelo's last just floating in the middle of your bedroom. And then people would be like, oh, that's interesting. And you can share pictures, videos, text. I think there's another thing that's similar to what we're doing now, but that can create hallway conversations. Like you're saying, they can walk through the museum at home, but they can walk through the hallways and look at pictures and comment and talk, and they can have someone like you come in and say, oh, well, I don't know, you know about this, you know about that.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting to see, like, after hearing Brigitte and Martin, we can notice that there's a real shift in the cultural sector, and that, like, maybe every museum now will have a digital department, or because I know you do at Musée de la Civilisation, but it's not every museum that have a digital department, or maybe rethink, like, the way of managing collections, or I don't know, that they will all be thought differently, and then the digital aspect of it will also play a part in the experience and the engaging part with the people, either at home or physically. So it's very interesting to notice that. Valentin, like, how much time do we have left? I don't know. Like, Alejandro didn't tell me
No,
until
so
what
we have
time
56 minutes. Actually, the whole session in networking stops at 4. But Aline said
Yeah,
Aline, what are
sorry.
you doing? Why
I
you're
have a meeting
leaving
at
to regular
3.
work?
I'm already actually late, but actually I really want to know more about those private projects, all those projects. If I can share with my community, they are super inspiring. I sent my email, and I will be super willing to share more with you in the future. It was a pleasure.
Great.
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah, thank you, Aline,
You
for
soon.
your input.
Ciao.
See
So
you.
yes.
Which is true. I don't know
Oh.
about you guys, but do you often have that discussion about like innovation, tech and culture? Because I like those topics separately, but I don't often hear that specific focus, or when I hear it, it's more like marketing and tech, but like not culture. You guys, or I just go to the wrong events? Is that just me?
Maybe no, but I don't think there's much. I mean, it's been really new just to tackle, and obviously we're going to write a book about that in a few weeks now, about like what we call now Createch. So it's all about the creative technologies that have been used for years and years in the creative and cultural industries, and now they're discovered in other sectors. For instance, when we talk about BEAM, so the building system management, when you can see through building and stuff, I mean, this is just AR, VR, or whatever. And so everybody, oh my God, what's going on? It's so great. Yeah, but we as creative people, we've been working with that for years. So now, yeah, that could come to you. Obviously, we can apply to ourselves, and I have to go also myself because I'm already late for my 3 o'clock meeting. But what I wanted to say also, a question that Reda he just asked about festivals and what's going to happen in festivals. I mean, for me, whatever kind of uh, place or space that was definitely like considered as a given before, like museum, and we had no other choices. We had to go somewhere just to achieve something. So now, obviously, and thanks to COVID, everything has changed. So there's new perspectives on it. And I just wanted to give you one personal story about me living in Paris. I've been living in Paris for 15 years, and every time I wanted to go to the Louvre, it was like overcrowded. So I never had a chance just to go and look at La Joconde in her eyes.
Those
If
are
you
just
can really just
excuses.
go to
You live in
that.
goddamn Paris. Yeah.
And what I did, I became obviously a VIP member of the museum. There were like in fact VIP sessions, and I had to change just to before everything was closed again, just to, and with the time where La Joconde was not in a glass room, so I definitely had that opportunity. And the museum was kind of empty. So I just wanted to share this because it's exactly what's happening now, and the balance between what could be discovered in a museum through a digital whatever is great. Definitely, just to make it more accessible to anyone, just to develop your critical sense and your knowledge about everything and what happened before you and what could happen with you or beyond you. And but at the same time, I guess it's a huge opportunity for people that have spaces like festivals, for instance, or theaters or museums, just to do more about those VIP stuff, just to be in the human again. I don't know how that could be feasible, or obviously yes, a business has to be really like worked around this, but there's opportunities now. We talk about like unplugged concerts. That has been the best concerts ever in my life. I mean, it's personal, definitely. I'm old, and I appreciate when there's not so much people around me just to do something, but just to be able to communicate, just to share my moment with the Mona Lisa for just like 5 minutes. It's been in my life forever. So that was my last sentence. Thank you so much. Obviously, talk to you, all of you soon. I guess you've got my link. I always wanted to do this. I've seen it so many times on YouTube. So please subscribe if you can't really subscribe.
You can leave a meeting. You can leave a meeting because the meeting was awesome. So don't forget to like,
Yes,
subscribe, and comment.
subscribe, and just comment. I'm sure you'll have my coordinates very quickly if you go to lapiscine.co. Always open just to discuss and do whatever kind of. So anyway, great jobs to all the people at New Moal Tech, and see you all
Oh,
of you
thanks.
soon, I guess.
Thank you very much, Christophe. It was a pleasure to have you on screen with us. You had so many great comments, and I'll keep in touch with you for sure.
Yes.
You're not that old, I think.
I am anywhere. I mean, it's good through the cam. It's just like you look really young.
Yeah, you don't
and
seem that old. But just to reassure you, and just to end on that, like you said, thanks to COVID, we don't. Well, we wouldn't dare say that often, but I think we'll hear it more and more often because a lot of opportunities just open up, and people are seizing these opportunities when at first they were seeing it more as a threat. So I liked your little part about on that. So thank you very much, Christophe, and see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Valentin, I think I was to answer your question. So partly why we wanted to create this cultural accelerator in Vancouver was exactly that there needed to be a lot more intersection between all of the topics and we actually started thinking about it more as a response to what was happening in the world right before COVID, where we had all these like popular elections, and we had things like the president of Brazil, the president of the US, and these kind of people just popping around. And we were like, how do you write the culture back? How do you get things back on track? We can't really do it through policy. We can't really do it through law. We can't really do it like the best way, the most long-term sustainable way to do it is through a change in culture.
Yeah.
So we need to start mixing things where I think I wanted to say that to Christine. I think at least for next year, there's not going to be any Coachellas or any large gatherings like this. There's going to be a lot more these personal, even in person. There's going to be like trusted networks of, I know these 5 or 10 people are healthy. I know them, I've been around them. So I'm going to go with these 10 people to the museum because I know I'm okay with them.
Yeah, true. But I'm sure that like the opportunities will pop up like with time, and then people will crave more and more the social aspect of it, and then I don't know. I think it will come for sure with either a vaccine or either like new measures for health and hygiene and distanciation. So we're all waiting for that. I don't know about the weather, but people say that maybe when it's warmer, there's less risks of contagion. So I don't know. Maybe this summer.
There's also another factor, right? We often talk in the news. Viruses are mutating, so we often talk in the news. I think what we realize, for example, the mask, the way they say, we can give you mask, but you have no idea how to use it. It will be dangerous, completely useless to give that. And based to popular, public pressure, they end up kind of, okay, yes, mask. But people still don't, I look around, people have no idea how to use them. But the problem is, if you look in Asia, for example, the reason why they're familiar with those masks is because they regularly have those infectious diseases. We're just, as we get in a more and more dense city, and our cities are growing, and as international traveling is adding to that challenge, it might be possible that this is not the last COVID. And as we go in, we're better prepared, but it might happen that we'll know a few waves where the government will be like, hey, you have to work from home. The same way that currently in many places is like, there's a disease, wear your mask, or there's too much smog, stay at home. And if some companies are not, or organizations are not super well prepared, and they just wait for COVID to pass, the second wave will kick them, and the third wave will definitely destroy them. So that's something else to even plan for.
Well, I think, Florian, it will be a bit of small at first and maybe a little larger, but I think one of the things we started thinking about right before the whole thing happened was probably something closer to your namesake. Our model for an incubator was how to restart another Renaissance age, like how to get another. And then we started talking about how the first Renaissance age was very limited, mostly only people who lived in Florence, Italy, and mostly only people there who could read and had leisure time to engage in art and things like that. So like 1% of all of Europe was actually affected by the Renaissance.
The
We
whole
talk about
period called Renaissance was 1% of Europe. It's
we
fascinating.
call it like a global phenomenon, but it was one city, and it was like a tiny percent of that one city. But what we are now seeing with both the advent of the internet and what we're doing now, and with the push that COVID gave us, is like, for example, I would not have been able to participate in this today. It was likely that I was not going to get on a plane and fly to Montreal to do this. So we can.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting, and like even if like Renaissance was only like 1% of Europe, that's what we remember, and that's what we have like not the gift, but the what has been gifted to us, and the rest we don't remember. So I guess, like as you said, it's a situation right now where we can be really creative and innovative just to see how we can reimagine our future, knowing that we have some limitations. But right now, like what is bugging me is when we talk about culture, entertainment, we think about liberty. We think about being free to push really far our limits and just like to create and so being free but with limitations is kind of I don't know, hard to manage in my head. Like, where do we stop, where do we start, where do we stop? Because when you create a piece of art, for example, you don't think about like having limitation. You just like create and you don't have limits. So I'm just wondering how all the creators and all the artists will live with that, being unable to fulfill their need of exploring this liberty of creating. So I don't know. It's interesting because like some people have been used to work with limitations, either like social limitations, where I don't know, in China where there's so many people in one city, you can't I don't know, like do a lot of noise, and I don't know, like there's some places where you have limitations. Here in Quebec, I know we have a big sandbox with where we tell people, be creative, don't put you any limits. So I don't know how we'll cope with that in the future. We'll see. That's one of my big questions unanswered right now about culture and entertainment. So I'm just putting it in the air like that. Valentin, I have myself to leave. Yes, I have another meeting quite soon. I don't know if I have to leave myself, even if I'm the mediator of the group.
I'm a moderator too. Don't worry about that.
Great.
But to answer quickly, quickly, goddamn. But I feel the reason why that question is hard is also what gives me hope, because essentially what you say is, hey, we have this problem, and the solution doesn't seem, how to articulate the solution doesn't seem readily available. So it requires some out-of-box thinking, right? Well, the good news is if you ask creators and artists to do out of box thinking, that's the kind of one thing they're naturally good at, you know. So you basically are faced with a problem that the people who know how to usually fix those problems are good at. So I still don't kind of fully see the solution to that, but I feel that we're in good hands because that's where they thrive.
Yeah.
Yes, Quebec, we're well known for our creativity and talent. So that's one of our big added value. I know a lot of people get job at in California or other country because we're well known for that. So I guess we have a great potential here to be creative and think about our future, even if we have some limitations. So I guess, yeah, it's a positive way of thinking. I like that, Valentin.
Florence, I gave you just a quick little thing. I think the point you just made, because of all the online tools, someone can actually get a job in LA and still do it from their bedroom in Quebec. Now they don't have to leave the country. Now they don't have to. But now, unlike, for example, in the Mimichi Gardens, now we can invite all these other people from all over the world and start creating from our homes and start showcasing.
True, we were wondering how to keep our talents here. Well, they'll stay here and be able to explore opportunities here as well as elsewhere. So yeah, that's a good and interesting point. So Valentin, should I leave you?
Yeah, you can
managing the room.
leave. No. Hey, thanks for all the support. I hope you enjoyed your experience. Have you done those kind of moderation on a similar platform before? I hope.
Well, I've been doing it a lot with MTLab and our community, but not like with external events like that.
Because I just joined in and it looks like everybody had fun. So thanks for that. Thanks for keeping the energy in.
I hope so. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Valentin. It was a pleasure. It was really a great event. I loved it, even if my English makes it a little bit slower sometimes to answer.
We're in
but
Montreal, or
I'll work on that.
Whatever it is. I have a really weird question for you. What camera do you have? Because of all the speakers I've seen, somehow it's either the light or the camera or the combo, but something is done right. What camera do you use? Or what camera device?
It's a good question from a technical guy like you, but it's only my Mac camera.
Okay, so you have just the light in the back.
Yeah, my secret is the here.
Yeah, the filler light in the perfect.
Yeah, great lighting.
Yeah. No, it works well. Perfect. Hey, thank you, Florence, and I hope we're gonna see each other. And if you see a nice event about those things, I mean, I'm definitely curious to hear more about those type of topics. Otherwise, we'll have to organize it. You know, how hard can it be to pull a few hundred people, right?
True. It's still recording.
Cool.
I don't know. I have to forget about it because I'm not really good at being in front of camera. But usually, I don't like being in front of camera usually. But it's like I think it's just like you have to let your passion talk, and then it's fine. So I'm really open to I don't know, doing some moderation or animation for any other of these events. I really enjoyed it. So thank you, Valentin, for the opportunity. And
Thanks
the rest of the team, you'll tell Alejandro and Elias.
Oh, the whole team. Yeah, we'll have a meeting soon. Hey, take care.
Great. Thank you, Martin. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Hey, by the way, thanks, Martin, for your questions. I was worried for a second that when you left at the worst moment. You're like, if you look at my profile and you disappeared. By the way, I see that we have like few other people watching us, like stalkers. Guys, feel free to join in. That's definitely a good time for it. It's always nice. Otherwise, it's just gonna be me and Martin rambling until times is up, or maybe a bit before. I don't know what are your time constraints. But what's your background? You said you worked a lot with. By the way, for those who don't know, all you have to do is to click the blue button that says audio and video, and I think you can still join in just with the sound. Honestly, it works just fine. So Martin, what is your background? Because you had some very specific questions.
Well, my background is probably very not specific. It's been all over the place.
Oh, don't worry about that. That's normal.
Mostly I have done a lot of work in media, a lot of work and mostly how to use tech for community building, for cultural creation, for things like that. So I've done a lot of work in both political campaigns with artists, with activists, anyone who was trying to tell a story, to get something out. So from that, I've evolved from, this is probably dating me, but I've evolved all the way from way back using Angel Fire with websites that were like ancient, all the way to now using AR and trying to figure out how to mix our current reality with imaginary stories to help people to for some of us who have a little bit more vivid imagination, I've always said that AR always existed because we've always been able to imagine that dragon right there in front of us.
It was always an option, by the way. Yeah. So I'm curious because that's always a specific kind of sync, right? You have to meet, let's say, creators that have a story to tell that might lack the technical expertise or the other way around. But you also need on the other side to look for the audience, right? Because as you start blending in technological tools, things can go pretty expensive quickly, and then you need people that are technologically savvy enough or environment that allows for it. So now you have like two levels of abstraction, like a tech-friendly project and tech-friendly audience. How do you kind of blend in those two, or is there projects you still wait for those two to align and you're like, one day the world will be ready?
Well, I think, for example, one of the reasons I focus on AR more than VR is most everyone has one of these. Most everyone knows how to work, knows how to work.
Exact these,
Yeah, most everyone knows how to work that. But if I get you into a room, like first I tell you, you have to come to my office, to my building, to my location, and then here, put on a Vive headset, and here, give me 10 minutes to calibrate everything. It's just not going to go. You're going to lose a lot of people, and it's just not going to be that magical. But if I just tell you, open this app, point to that wall over there, and for example, we were working, so in Mexico, there's a tradition called Dia de los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead. Which all of your dead relatives come back and you get to have a big dinner with them, and your grandma that you missed, you get to see her again. We were working on an app where you upload pictures of your relatives to this app. Pictures of your relatives are no longer here, and then you point your phone to your couch, and your grandpa is now sitting on your couch. So you can. So it was a lot of that, and that tends to give people more ease or more things like.
Because they're already used to see it, as you say, it's part of the cosmovision, like the kind of cultural imagination that that is present, let's say, in Latin America.
And I think there's a company called Niantic who created Pokemon Go and created Harry Potter.
Niantic from Google. Yeah.
So they've been awesome at training everyone on AR. So because of Pokemon Go, everyone knows how to do that. They just know, you take your.
It's a good point because we've been trying for years to goddamn show VR and then Pokemon Go. We've been trying for years to tell people you need a digital marketing strategy and then COVID, So
So I think making it. One thing I've learned is making it as easy as possible or as simple as possible. But obviously, explaining to that person, to your grandma that just pointed to your couch and saw your grandpa sitting there.
Mhm.
One thing is for her to see him sitting there, and the other one is for you to try to explain to her what occlusion is. You're not
Yeah.
going to get, that's where you're going to lose.
Yeah. It's like I've been following VR for many years. It's an interesting technology, and
Yeah,
it has advantages. Like if you do a lot of VR, you're suddenly able to read inside a car. You know, you're very used to that kind of effect, but
yeah,
it gets better. And I only waited until the Oculus Quest got in the market, and it's kind of interesting because the worst thing that ever happened to VR is cryptocurrency, because everybody was going on Bitcoin, so everybody needed graphic cards
yeah,
because VR was extremely power hungry. So the price doubled, and nobody could like try the experience of VR because suddenly the mask cost as much as the new computer you need to buy or more. It got ridiculous. And when I
yeah,
tried for the first time not even the gear, a bunch of when I tried for the first time, and I tried them all, the Oculus Quest, they went. You couldn't buy any for a long time actually. Now there's some back in stock. I was like, this is the model I'll buy because there's no explanation, you know. And I
yeah,
still do little parties at my place time to time, and we'll take the VR and like one of those music games, and even
yeah,
if somebody never tried it, they have a blast. It works every single time. So COVID is one of the best thing that happens actually probably in VR right now, if they can deal with low stocks, because the need is there. The technology is matured enough. You cannot go outside, and probably some business opportunities or events and things like that could only be tested with tried or with VR, augmented reality or virtual reality. I think I agree with you. Over
yeah,
time, I think everything will move to mixed reality. I don't want to play too much with words, but essentially that you will be
yeah,
simply able to choose if you see what's in front of you or completely make it opaque. You know, I think
yeah,
everything moves there, and it's one of the weird thing where actually COVID, as an opportunity, probably took something that was already ready to explode and made it explode where you couldn't even buy some of those products. They were all out of stock.
yeah. I think there's a company in Toronto that has the closest thing that I have seen. If anybody here is a fan of the comic heroes, the Avengers, the closest
Yeah,
thing I've ever seen is Tony Stark's glasses.
yeah.
So these glass, the company in Toronto, you can go to the showroom, they will make you glasses, and they have all kinds of, you can watch Netflix, you can watch,
Okay, so it's not North Focal. View 6?
yeah,
Which one is it? Yeah, I
yeah,
know, I
no
know.
focal.
I know my wait, what's the nerdy term if you really want to go that very deep long avenue? It's called a head-mounted display for the old
Yeah,
folks who enjoy HMDs. I actually did one for myself many years ago. I took one of the View 6 and I unmounted, and I could watch TED Talks because you nerdy as hell if you do that. But the technology, that's again, the technology existed, but the use cases
yeah,
was not ready, and the price was a bit expensive to
yeah.
justify. Technology was there since a long time.
Well, that's partly my thing with VR is like you said right now. If I tell someone, go out and spend, you know, what, even the Oculus is 500, the cheapest, I think.
Yeah.
You know, that's a bit of a, for 500, they go out and buy an Android device that is good enough to get
Yeah.
good AR. So I think, and I think the leap between an Oculus and a Vive
Hmm.
so big
Yeah.
that when I
I think
showed
no, go ahead.
when I showed my family a like VR that I had on a phone, I just carry a cheap visor, the kind that you put your phone on.
Hmm.
They were like, "This is really cool," but it gets really boring after a while when you can't do anything, when you can't
Touch.
interact. And I was like, well, for the interactive one, I got to bring all kinds of thing along with me.
Yeah. And the
That gets
Oculus
really
Quest was
expensive.
kind of the first time you didn't need any of the sensors.
Yeah.
And since we kind of smoothly switching from culture to media, we talked about VR that actually leveraged, or at least we see strong potential for VR to leverage that existing technology with the context of COVID, with the context of training people with extra mobility and all those things. There's also another interesting technology that relates to culture, education, media, entertainment, which is 5G. And you could see a case because what cost when I for those who are not familiar with VR, it's essentially like, well, you know what it is, but the way it works is essentially, let's say the Oculus Quest, it's essentially a phone that's made by Xiaomi, basically just a phone manufacturer, and you have it in front of you, right? And that means you have to buy the glass system, the screen, and the phone technology. And the potential of technologies like 5G is that you basically have the equivalent of a Chromecast, right? A Chromecast is extremely stupid. All it does is you give them a website and it does, oh, okay, and it goes on that website. And the potential with 5G is that you could have extremely cheap VR headsets, right? That only do one thing, which is to stream content from your computer, from your phone, from internet. And all you have is one screen, you know, with a bit of a 5G networking capability and some nice lenses, right? So the potential means that it could even be cheaper than, I think what now it's like $400 for a Quest. You could easily go lower because you don't have to have a phone in your pocket and have a phone on your face and have a computer on your desk. It could be more and more blended together.
Yeah, and I think for those of you who are listening who might be teachers or might work at museums or might be something like that, one of the really good use cases is you can have history class or cultural class and talk about, you know, like the French history of Quebec. And some kids might get really bored and they're like, I don't want to read that much, or I'm tired of listening to the teacher talk, or things like that. Or you can talk about, for example, what we're talking about, the Renaissance. And you could have Michelangelo sitting there talking to you about what he did, and you know, and that way the kids tend to remember it more. When it becomes more of an interactive thing, the kids, you talk to them a week later about what did Michelangelo say last week, and they will still be able to tell you. But if you have them read a whole chapter about this, it's likely that in 2 or 3 days they might not remember everything they read as sharply that if they sat down and talked to a historical figure, or if they were able to see, touch, and feel the cultural traditions that you're now showing them. That's the beauty of both AR
It
and VR.
reinforces you need people that can create the content in the background.
Yeah.
And I've been speaking with actually some teachers where I was asking them, hey, you know, like where do you find the time? How do you do? And what I've seen often is it's not necessarily there's actually enough content to keep a teacher busy, available on all kind of things. So for example, we have for years those like whiteboards, you know, interactive whiteboards in classes, for example, if we speak about education. And there's a very great material where it's like touchscreen and you can like put a physics problems, you know, like the weights and things, and you can visualize it. And it's been proven that if you bring, let's say, if you bring like boys who are usually less involved in education on the screen, they'll be more engaged. So you're like, wait, the content exists, we know how to do it, but we don't do it. And so it's not a lack of content, it goes more in the lack of habits, probably, you know, something along those lines. And that's probably the hardest thing to channel, to break. And situation like COVID really forces you, you know, regardless of your opinion of like, I don't like using computers for teaching class. Well, maybe you don't have this excuse anymore, you know?
Yeah, I'm not remembering the name, but there's an AR game for teachers to teach chemistry. And what you see in front of you are molecules, like the periodic tables, and then you combine them, and as you combine them, you make oxygen, you make water, you make all of the different, as you are combined, you're literally just taking molecules, grabbing them, pushing them together, and in that you're creating new compounds, new chemicals, and that gets kids really excited, rather than like really boringly staring at periodic table of contents and forgetting everything. They're sitting there literally grabbing oxygen,
Oh, that
grabbing
sounds,
hydrogen,
you know, that's
and smashing it
amazing. And
together.
the thing that upset me is that those things already exist, right? Like more,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, more than we can physically put, than we physically have time to
Yeah.
teach in a classroom. We have more content than we can use for all those nice fancy ways. Problem lies elsewhere, habits, lack of time, and things like that. But yeah, so it's interesting how we quickly went from like culture, we went to media entertainment, we went back to education. Those things are actually really well aligned. Um, have you felt, and that's, I'm gonna come, we're like running out of time, but have you felt with the COVID,
Yeah.
have you felt that actually what habits that you had as a creator, as somebody who works with those creators, what did you, besides the obvious things like, oh well, confinement, what do you actually feel changed the most, and that will probably stay with you after the confinement is over?
I think in talking to a lot of creators, I think a lot of them, because of not being able to go all over, and a lot of times these creators have to travel widely to show their stuff and all that, and that travel time took a lot of their creativity and all that. So a lot of them have found that they were more creative staying at home for long periods of time, and then putting their stuff online, like getting people to come to them and be like, here, I will do a live music show for you, or I will paint something right in front of you, as your, so that, to me, that was partly that. I think the other one that I found that I think Christopher touched on it early is the ability of people willing to pay for things more, because people were, yes, I will go watch your online thing, and I'll give you $2. I'll give you a $2 tip. I'll give you a $5 tip. So there's a lot more people willing to do that, and if they went to a coffee shop and saw the same person sitting there playing, they might or may not give them anything. So I saw more of that, more people willing to support them in that way, and more.
It's interesting because it's like an opportunity to
so-
create the connection. So people are saying, it sucks because you have, for example, the events are such an important part of many opportunities, really, like for networking. We talk about culture and music and things like that. But there's kind of another argument saying like, yeah, but we could adapt those little tools to say maybe we can make a more integrated experience where people have a better connection with the artist and the people behind. So recently, I was on Twitter and I saw Ash from Watch Mojo, extremely successful YouTube channel, and they got a deal to show, I think it was John Wick, to stream John Wick and have commentators from their show kind of watching it with. And suddenly it got me thinking of like, well, wouldn't it be amazing to watch John Wick with the art director, or watch John Wick with different people involved, because we keep saying, hey, when you pirate movies, you still like people, there's a lot of work involved in this. Well, yeah, but you do a goddamn good job at hiding that work. You never surface those professionals, and then when you're trying to make promotion about it, you're like, we need to create content to make promotion. Well, you have an insane amount of creators that worked in the background that could connect on even simple things like how all the costumes are made for a movie. Some of them it's gorgeous, and I'm sure if you do a live stream, you'll attract the right kind of audience that is super niche and wants to talk about that. So suddenly you're like, it's online, but this is not physically possible otherwise than online, and it creates extra proximity by being remote.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting kind of opportunity there if we do it right.
Yeah, I think that, and I think to have the more rich experience, I think maybe you heard about 2 weeks or so ago, a rap artist called Travis Scott had a giant
In Fortnite?
concert on.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
This thing goes
So,
crazy. Yeah. For those, yeah.
and now,
It's nice.
sorry, Fortnite is
Yeah.
a popular video game. But now Sony is creating an entire department inside of Sony to
It
do
makes
that.
sense. You have like
So it
millions
wasn't
of
just a
players,
one-off.
and it's if you want to
Yeah.
go immersive, that's fuck it. Like there's nothing that goes more immersive than video games, and video games won that game. The entertainment game. Video games won it more than 10 years ago, and they don't even brag about it. They're so busy winning it, they don't even brag about it. And it's always interesting, this relationship that people have from the cultural ecosystem of being very distant of the video game industry in the references, in this is the huge elephant in the room, and not in like so much knowledge, technology, experiments and things like that are done in video games. They don't ripple that much in other spheres. And yet video games are really good at taking cues from everyone. People don't seem to consider it seriously enough to take cues from them. It's a shame, really.
Yeah, I think like culture is often either a retelling of a story, a retelling of traditions of who we are, who we've become. And sometimes the cultural creation is about recreating new futures, new possibilities, new things. And no one that I've seen does that better than video games in creating whole new realities or telling you about this ancient land long ago and
and by the way, right now, video game industry. I did an interview with a girl from Ubisoft. She was working for Siege, and that was just before hell breaks loose. Video games industry right now, it's all hands on deck. Like it's absolutely thriving like mad. Okay, if you want to do an event during COVID and you can mount it, you'll have surprising amount of viewers. Parents are more than happy for their kids to spend some time on Fortnite and leave them a bit alone for them to work. You have you have kids playing professionally right now. But even after COVID, but that's an interesting case that we actually, we talked about success in the innovation and things like that. If you look at culture, video games is definitely a pure case of innovation. If you look at situation with COVID, video games is clearly a case where they are they're beneficiary of this change of dynamic right now. And I haven't heard much of it, It's strange.
Well, yeah, I think the end of this, like for all of you guys who are interested in how this is created, a lot of it is being created on a thing called Unreal Engine. You can, and it's actually not that hard to learn. And they put every one of their tutorial online for free. You can download it.